I want you to picture this. You get a call from your parents, and you can hear it in their voice immediately. Something's wrong. Not the casual kind of, we need help, but the kind that makes your chest tighten before they even explain. They tell you it's an emergency. Something urgent. Something serious. And without thinking too much about it, you say yes. Because they're your parents, right? So you help. In my case, that help was $30,000. Not a small amount. Not something I had just sitting around without effort. That was years of discipline. Years of saving. Years of choosing not to spend when I could have. But in that moment, none of that mattered. Because when family calls, you don't calculate, you respond. Or at least, that's what I thought. Now fast forward a little bit. A few weeks go by. Things seem quiet. No updates, but I don't push. I trust. Until one day, I'm scrolling. Just a normal scroll. And then... And then I see it. My sister, smiling, standing in a brand new kitchen. I'm talking about a full renovation. New cabinets, new appliances, everything modern, clean, expensive looking. And the caption? Finally got the kitchen of my dreams, now pause right there. Because in that moment, something didn't feel right. At first you try to ignore it. Maybe it's coincidence. Maybe she saved for it. Maybe it's unrelated, but that feeling, that gut instinct, it doesn't go away. And the more I thought about it, the more the timeline started lining up. That's when it hit me. The emergency. The money. The silence afterward. And now, this. That realization, it doesn't just make you angry. It makes you question everything. Because it's not just about the money. It's about trust. It's about being told one thing and seeing something completely different. And if you've ever been in a situation like that, you know how heavy it feels. Because now you're stuck between two things, your emotions and your response. And this is where most people lose control. Because the natural reaction, confrontation, anger, calling it out immediately. And trust me, I felt all of that. But here's where things get real. Because at that point in my life, I had already been working on something, not just physically, but mentally. Discipline. Consistency. Control. The kind you build through your health and fitness journey. Because when you train your body, you're also training your mind. You're learning how to push through discomfort. How to stay consistent when you don't feel like it. How to control your impulses. And that control, it shows up in moments like this. So instead of reacting immediately, I paused. And that pause, that's powerful. Because it gives you space. Space to think. Space to process. Space to choose your next move, instead of letting emotion choose it for you. So I didn't call them right away. I didn't send a message. I stepped back and I asked myself a simple question. What do I actually want from this? Not emotionally, but realistically. Because reacting might feel good in the moment, but it doesn't always get you the outcome you want. So I stayed quiet. But not passive. I paid attention, watched, listened. And over the next few days, more details came out. Small things, comments, conversations that didn't quite match up. And slowly, the picture became clearer. The emergency wasn't what I thought it was. It wasn't urgent. It wasn't unavoidable. It was a choice. And I was the one who funded it. Now here's where this connects to something deeper. Because situations like this, they test more than your patience. They test your identity. Because in that moment, you have to decide who you are. Are you the person who reacts emotionally? Or are you the person who responds with control? Because your fitness journey, it's not just about building muscle. It's about building that version of you who doesn't get pulled into chaos, who doesn't lose control when things get uncomfortable, who can stand still, even when everything inside wants to react. So after I had clarity, I made a decision. I was going to address it. But not emotionally, not aggressively, clearly, calmly, directly. And that's exactly what I did. I sat down with them, no accusations, no raised voice, just facts. I laid everything out, the timing, the money, the situation. And I asked a simple question, can you explain this? And here's something interesting. When you approach something like that calmly, it changes the entire dynamic. Because people expect emotion. They expect confrontation. They expect you to come in heated. But when you come in controlled, it forces a different kind of response. There was silence. Not the kind where people are thinking of what to say, the kind where they realize there's no easy way out. And eventually, the truth came out. Not all at once. Not clean. But enough. Enough to confirm what I already knew. Now here's the part that matters most. What do you do after that? Because you can't undo what happened. You can't go back. You can't pretend it didn't affect you, but you can decide how it shapes you moving forward. And for me, it came down to one thing: boundaries. Because discipline isn't just about what you do. It's about what you allow, who you allow, how you allow people to treat you. And that was a lesson I had to learn the hard way. Because up until that point, I was always available, always willing, always saying yes, without thinking about the long-term impact. But growth changes that. It makes you more aware, more intentional, more selective, not in a negative way, but in a necessary way. Because if you don't protect your energy, your time, your resources, someone else will use them without thinking twice. And that applies to your fitness journey too. Because how many times do people sacrifice their routine for others? Skip workouts, break habits, put themselves last. All because they don't set boundaries. And over time, that adds up. So this situation, as frustrating as it was, it taught me something I needed to learn. To stay disciplined, not just in my habits, but in my decisions. To stay consistent, not just in my routine, but in my standards. And most importantly, to respect myself enough to not ignore what I see. Because clarity is a gift, even when it's uncomfortable. And now, looking back, that moment didn't break me. It sharpened me. It made me more aware, more grounded, more in control. And that's what I want you to take from this. Because life is going to throw situations at you where people don't act the way you expect, where things don't line up, where trust gets tested. And in those moments, you have a choice. React or respond. Lose control or stay grounded. Let it break your routine or let it strengthen it. Because the version of you you're building through discipline, through fitness, through consistency, that version doesn't fall apart in moments like this. That version gets clearer, stronger, more focused. So if you're watching this right now, and you've ever been in a situation where something didn't feel right, where you felt taken advantage of, where you questioned people close to you, I want you to remember this. You don't need to react immediately. You don't need to prove anything. But you do need to stay grounded. You do need to protect what you've built. Because at the end of the day, your strength isn't just in how much you can lift, it's in how much you can handle. Without losing yourself,